I had a request from one of my viewers about doing a video that he really wanted to talk about, or wanted me to talk about. It's over the 7th century. And it's very crucial to understand. It's one of the most underrated centuries of all time. It was really a good time, and it was also a bad time. There was good and bad in it, like most centuries. However, did you know the 7th century was a period from 601 through 700? Why didn't they just do 600 to 699? But no, the 7th century was 601 through the year 700. So 601 to 700. It was in accordance with Julian calendar in the Common Era. Now, obviously, you can go look this up in Wikipedia, but the viewer, and more than just one viewer, really wanted me to do a video like this. They wanted me to talk to you about the 7th century. They said they loved my voice and my coherence and my art. I'm very articulate, apparently. I'm probably the most articulate person in the entire universe. My words come out. I can convey my speech to you in a clear manner. But again, back to the 7th century. So it's in accordance with the Julian calendar in the Common Era. I want to make this video as brief as possible. As you can tell, I'm very articulate. The spread of Islam and the Muslim conquest began with the unification of Arabia by Prophet Muhammad, started in 622, so that was in the 7th century. After Muhammad's death in 632, Islam expanded beyond the Arabian Peninsula under the Rashidun Caliphate, 632 to 661, and the Umayyad Caliphate, 661 to 750, so 750 would have been the 8th century. The Muslim conquest of Persia in the 7th century led to the downfall of the Sassanian Empire. Also conquered during the 7th century were Syria, Palestine, Armenia, Egypt, and North Africa. The Byzantine Empire continued to suffer setbacks during the rapid expansion of the Muslim Empire. And the Iberian Peninsula, not the Arabian, but the Iberian Peninsula, the 7th century was the Siglo de Consulos, that is the century of councils, referring to the councils of Toledo. In China, the Sui dynasty was replaced by the Tang dynasty, which set up its military bases from Korea to Central Asia, and was next to the Emuads later. China began to reach its height. Silla allied itself with the Tang dynasty, Shang by Jik, and defeating Goguryeo to unite the Korean peninsula under one ruler. Peshawar united northern India, which was reverted to small republics and states after the fall of the Gupta Empire in the 6th century. Now, I'm going to go on here. The events, Islam begins in Arabia. The Quran is documented. The first known Croatian Akron Porga establishes the Duchy of Croatia. The world's population shrinks to about 208 million. The Anglo-Saxon Heptarchy hierarchy emerges at the beginning of this century are the last in England. Satan, who shipped burial East Anglia, modern England. Zaya Zhang traveled from China to India before returning to Changyang in China to translate Buddhist scriptures. Timgad, Algeria, is destroyed by Berbers. End of sporadic Buddhist rule in Sindh. Croats, under their present territory early in the 7th century, settling in 6 distinct tribal, not denominations, but denominations. Tawakam is sacked, the political religious buildings are burned. The religion of Saishigundu evolves from Buddhism, Taoism, and Shinto, and other influences in the mountains of Japan. The Bulgars arrive in the Balkans, establishment of the powerful Bulgarian Empire. Arab traders penetrate the area of Lake Chad. Now, this is the events of some of the events of the 7th century. Of course, you're never going to really find the events that happened before. I mean, are during, like, this is like, we don't know the history books of every single human what happened in every single person's life at every split nanosecond in the 7th century, because it was, again. Okay, Arab traders penetrate the area of Lake Chad. Earliest attested English poetry, side panels, Basilia of Saint Apollinaire and Classe are made. Main compound, Harouche Nara Prefecture is built. Saka period, 7th and 9th century, mosaics above apse, Basilia of Saint Apollinaire and Classes are made. The 600, smallpox spreads from India to Europe. 602, the third Chinese domination of Vietnam starts following the collapse of the early Lai dynasty. 603, last mention of the Roman Senate in the Gregorian Register. It mentions that the Senate acclaimed the statues of Emperor Phocas and Empress Leontia. 606, now this is the year 606, Pope Boniface III elected to the papacy in the death of Pope Sabinian, who sought and obtained a decree from Byzantine Emperor Phocas, which stated that the see of the Blessed Peter, the apostle, should be the head of all the churches. That this ensured that the title of universal bishop belonged exclusively to the Bishop of Rome. In 607, Harishi's J. Temple, believed to have been completed by 607 in Guroki, Japan. In the year 610, Hercules arrives by ship from Africa at Constantinople, overthrows Eastern Roman Emperor Phocas, and becomes emperor. His first major act is to change the official language of the Eastern Roman Empire from Latin to Greek, already the language of the vast majority of the population. In 615, the Sasanian Empire under Shah Khosrow II sacks Jerusalem, taking away the relic of the true cross. In the year 615, Pokal the Great becomes king of the Mayan city-state of Palenque, and that would be in Mexico. They were the Mayans. 616, Shah Khosrow II invades Egypt. That'd be North Africa. You probably already knew that. 616, Elthoreth of Northumbria defeats the Welsh in the battle at Chester in England. And there's a plethora of information. The 7th century was filled with awesome things that happened into it. Let's go 618. Something happened in the 617. Of course, there probably was like maybe a brawl or something they don't mention. Of course, I wish they had video. Probably did have video production back in the 7th century. Maybe not. 618, the Chenli Kingdom completely absorbed Funan. The Guangzhou, China becomes a major international seaport hosting maritime travelers from Egypt, East Africa, Arabia, Persia, India, Sri Lanka, and Southeast Asia, including Muslim, Jews, Hindus, and Nestorian Christians. 622, year 1 of the Islamic calendar begins, during which the Hijriya occurs. Muhammad and his followers emigrate from Mecca to Medina in September. In 623, the Frankish merchant Samo supported the Slavs fighting their Avar rulers, becomes the ruler of the first known Slav state in Central Europe. Sorry about that. 626, the Avars, the Slavs, and the Persians jointly besieged but failed to capture Constantinople. 627, Emperor Herculius defeats the Persians in the Roman-Persian Wars. 629, the Arab-Byzantine Wars begin. Much of the Roman Empire is conquered by Muslim Arabs led by Khalid ibn al-Walid. So let's read a little bit about the Arab-Byzantine Wars. One of their commanders and leaders, Herculius, Theodore Trithius, Gregory the Patrician, Vahan, Nikias the Persian, Constans II, Constantine IV, Justinian II, Leontualus, Herculius, Constant V. Now the other side was the Muhammad, Zayed ibn Harith, and Jafar ibn Talib, Khalid ibn al-Walid, and Itamar ibn Abadjaya, Abd Allah, and Rohan, Abba Bakar, Umar ibn Ubadiah ibn al-Jar, just to name a few. But you can go on, again, you can Google this, and it's all free of charge. You can do this at your own leisure. But again, I had a viewer that wanted me to do this for YouTube. YouTube is, this is probably going to go viral for a YouTube video. And I just want you to know that I'm very happy that you are watching this. Now, moving on. 629 to 630, Tang campaign against the Eastern Turks. Chinese Tang Dynasty forces under commanders Li Jing and Li Shu destroy the Gokrakhanate. Now, if you want to know some information, Li Jiang was born in the year 571, and he died July 2nd of 649. He was aged 77 or 78. And he was part of the Tang Dynasty in China. Again, this video will probably go viral. 632, the Muslims' conquests begin. Nothing in the year 631. That's a shame. 635 to 641, Al-Lopan, a Persian Christian priest, introduces Nestorian Christianity into China. 636, around this time, the Battle of Al-Qadisiyah resulted in a decisive victory for Muslims in the Muslim conquest of Persia. The Persian Empire is conquered by Muslim Arabs led by Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas with Q's. That was from November 16th of 636 CE or 80 CE to November 19th. So looks like 3 days or 3.5 days. The strength for the Rashidun Caliphate was 30 to 40,000. That's how many numbers they had. And the Sassanid Empire had 30 to 50,000. Casualties and losses, 8,500 died for the Rashidun Caliphate, 22,000 died in the Sasanian Empire. There's also a map. It looks like it was mostly fought in Persian Empire and a little bit in the Byzantine Empire, and the Rashidun Caliphate, that was the second most. Looks like they had a map by, we'll just have you go for that too, or you can read more information on that. 638, nothing in 637, that's a shame. I'm sure there was probably brawls at a bar or a pub back then in Northern Ireland or something. They could have said something about that, but again, there was, you think with all the technology they had in the 7th century, they'd be able to film that. 638, Emperor Taizong from 627 to 649 issues an edict of universal tolerations of religions. Nestorian Christians built a church in Chang'an. In 638, Muslim conquest of Palestine. 639, Muslim conquest of Egypt and Armenia. 639, unsuccessful revolt of Ishina, Jewish Shayo of the Turkic people against Tang, China. That was fought. Well, that wasn't fought, but it was, oh, it was a person, okay. So I looked up, I thought it was a battle. You probably hear it too, and you're going, what's going on? But again, this video will probably go viral. 638, Muslim conquest of Palestine. 639, Muslim conquest of Egypt and Armenia. I said that already, I apologize. And 639, unsuccessful revolt of, you probably want me to read it again, unsuccessful revolt of Ishina Jayashayo of the Turkic people against Tang, China. In 641, again, there was nothing that happened in 640, except there might have been a brawl at a pub in Northern Ireland or something, or even in England. 641, the Coptic period, in its more specific definition, ends when Islam is introduced into Egypt. 649 to 683, Chinese Emperor Gaiyazong permits establishment of Christian monasteries in each of 358 prefectures or states in China, or cities. The Emperor Gaizheng of Tang was born in 628, July 21st, 628, and died December 27th of 683. The Arab Kashmir Wars began. Now here's something interesting. There was not many events in the 640s. This is something that really is probably making you upset. It's really grabbing my attention, and I don't, please, I know you're upset, but try to not be so upset about this. There wasn't a whole lot of events in the 640s. There was one 641, and then the other one was 649 to 683. But I'm sure there was a brawl in Northern Ireland and maybe a pub, LOL, right? Again, this video will probably go viral. Mid-7th century, Durga Mashirashar Mardina, Durga, a slayer of the buffalo demon, rock-cut relief, Mamallapuram, Tamil Nadu, India is made. Pallava period it is now kept at Asian Art Archives, University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. Mid-7th century, portrait of Lord Pekel from his tomb, Temple of the Inscriptions, Palenque, Mexico, was made. Maya culture. It is now kept at National Museum of Anthropology in Mexico City. Circa mid-7th century, Dharmarja Ratia, Mapal Puravam, Tamil Nada, India, or Nuda Nada, India is built. Pahlavi period. 651 Emperor Yeshedgard III is murdered in Merv, ending the rule of Sassanid dynasty in Persia, Iran. He was born in the year 624 and murdered in 651 at the age of 27. (656 to 661) is the first fitna. The first fitna was a civil war within the Rashidun Caliphate, which resulted in the overthrowing of the Rashidun caliphs and the establishment of the Umayyad dynasty. It began when the Caliph Uthman was assassinated by rebels in 656 and continued through the 4-year reign of Uthman's successor, Ali. It ended in 661 when Ali's heir, Hassan ibn Allah, concluded a treaty acknowledging the rule of Mariyah, the first Umayyad Caliph. (657) The Chinese Tang dynasty under Emperor Gayazun of Tang defeats Western Turkic Khaganate. 658, 2 Chinese monks, Zi Hu and Zhao Yu, can reconstruct the 3rd century south-pointing chariot mechanical compass vehicle for Emperor Taiji of Japan. 661, Caliph Ibn Talib is assassinated. His successor, Hassan ibn Ali, abdicated the caliphate to Mariyah the First, marking the beginning of Umayyad Caliphate. Let's read more on Al-Hassan ibn Ali. He was born in the year 624 of December 1st and died April 1st of 670 at the age of 45. That was probably no April Fool's Day joke when they heard that. LOL, right? Again, this video will probably go viral. 663, the Tang Dynasty of China and Korean Xia Kingdom gained victory against the Korean Bukchi Kingdom and their Yamato Japanese allies in the naval battle of Beijing. 400 ships were lost, 10,000 troops, and 1,000 horses died. (664) Conquest of Kabul by Muslims. Kabul is in Afghanistan. It's one of the largest cities in Afghanistan. 664, a Tang Dynasty Chinese source written by Il Tsing mentioned about Hulagun Kalanga Kingdom located somewhere on the northern coast of central Java, which is in Indonesia, I believe. 668, the end of the Bulgaria-Tang War, as Bulgaria fell to a joint attack by Tang China and unified Silla of Korea, the latter of which held the former Bulgaria over domains. 670, an Arab Muslim army under with a QBA, Kubu, Ibn Nafa entered the region of Turkey in the late 670s, conquest of North Africa was completed. 671, Aizin visited Shirviraya and Malaya in Sumatra and Kedah in Malaya Peninsula in his way to Nalanda, India. 674, the first Arab siege of Constantinople begins. 677, most of the Arab fleet is destroyed by Greek fire. The Persian crown prince flees to the Tian court. 680, decisive victory of the Bulgars over the Byzantines in the Battle of Ongwal. The strength for the Bulgars was around 10 to 12,000. Again, you can read this on Wikipedia or Google this, but again, a viewer requested me to read about the 7th century. Now, I want to make this video as brief as possible, and I'm sure, again, it will go viral. I won't be saying it many more times because you'll know it will go viral. And also in 680, the Battle of Karbala took place near Kufa, which resulted in the death of Hayassin Abin Ella and the division of the Muslim community. In 681, Bulgaria is recognized as an independent country by the Byzantine Empire. 682, revival of the Turkic Khaganate by the efforts of Iltutmish Khagan and Tonak Ukuk. 683, Dubunta Hayanshir Gymnasia performed the Hyatria as the journey to expand his influence. Very interesting. The event mentioned in several inscriptions such as Tiliga Batua inscription, the Telian Tua inscription, and the Kudakan Bukik inscription. The beginning of Saravijaya hegemony over the maritime region from Malacca Strait and Sunda Strait. Fascinating. 683 to 685, the second fitna. The second fitna was a period of general political and military disorder and civil war in the Islamic community during the early Umayyad Caliphate. That's just, I don't want to spoil the rest of it. It's just too good to be true to read this. It's just amazing. You'll really like it. In 686, Jurian launched a naval invasion of Java, which is mentioned in Kupar inscription. This likely contributed to the end of the Taramangara kingdom. In 687, moving towards the latter part of the 7th century, more the latter part of the 7th century. 687, Iltin returned to Srivijaya on his way back from India to China. In his record, he reported that the kingdom of Malaya was captured by Saravijaya. 688, Emperor Justinian II of the Byzantine Empire defeats the Bulgarians. In 690, pro-Buddhist imperial consort Wu Zetian seizes power and rules as Empress of China. You're probably all wondering about that. 691, Buddhism is made the state religion of China in 691. Well, 7 years passed from 691 to 698. The Arabs captured Carthage from the Byzantine Empire. 698, active but unofficial anti-Christian persecution begins in China. 698, North and South States period begins in Korea. In the year 700, the Mount Edizia volcanic complex erupts in northern British Columbia, Canada. Oh. And there's a plethora of information on that if you want to read that in Wikipedia. But again, a viewer requested me to read this, especially the 7th century. They really wanted me to focus on the 7th century. And it wasn't just one, it was not just two, not just three. But you know I have 80 trillion subscribers, so a plethora of emails. They wanted me to get through this video. They really wanted me to talk about the 7th century. And I want to make this video as brief as possible. In the year 700, the Sumatria-based Sigiriya naval kingdoms flourishes and declines to 1500. In 700, wet field rice cultivation, small towns and kingdoms flourish. Trade links are established with China and India. In 700, the Sojumurto inscription, possibly dated around late 7th century, is discovered in Beteng, Central Java. It mentions Dapunda Salandrea, possibly the ancestor of Salandrea dynasty. The inscription was written in Old Malaya, suggesting a Sergian linked to his family. Again, I want to keep this video as brief as possible. So that was the events of the 7th century. Let's move on to the 7th century structures. I think that's what a lot of wanted me to. The 7th century in architecture. Let's read what happened there. Now let's talk about 7th century structures. There are many unique structures of the 7th century. Wikipedia, 7th century in architecture. It's from Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia. Again, a person wanted me to do these videos because they love the way I present the information, and this video will probably go viral. Buildings, the 601 to 607, the Horyuji in Nara, Japan, built for the first time. Let's talk about Horyuji is the temple of the flourishing Dharma. It's a Buddhist temple that was once of the powerful 7 great temples in Ikuriga, near a prefecture, Japan. Its full name is Horyuji Gakumuji, or Learning Temple of the Flourishing Law. The complex serving as both a seminary and monastery. The temple was founded by Prince Shukutu in 607, but according to Nin Shukun in 670, all buildings were burned down by lightning. However, reconstruction at least 1,300 years later, the Kondu main hall is widely recognized as the world's oldest wooden building. In 1993, Horyuji Temple, along with Hokji, was registered as Japan's first UNESCO World Heritage Site under the name of Buddhist Monuments in Horyuji area. A tree ring survey conducted in 2001 revealed that the Shinbasharia of the 5-story pagoda were cut down in 594 before burned down in 670. Let's look at what Prince Shakatu. He was born in February 7, 574, and died April 8, 622 at the age of 48. Moving on. In 605, the completion of the Anji Bridge or Zazu Bridge in the Sui Dynasty, China. The bridge was finished in 616. Javari Monastery in Georgia. The Javari Monastery was the affiliation of the Georgian Orthodox religion. It is built on top of the hill. Very beautiful. All you got to do is go to Wikipedia. It's free of charge. It's all open to the public. At least the information is. I wouldn't say the monastery, but it's still standing today after basically ancient history, 7th century. I mean, I would consider the 7th century ancient history. Anything over 1,000 years is probably considered ancient. Actually, BC or BCE, before Common Era. There's also a picture of the Javari Monastery. It's the view from the southeast. It's very beautiful before there's some pillars and rocks that concrete. Very beautiful. Moving on, in 611, the four gates of Bagado in Zhou Dynasty, China is completed. The four gates of Bagado is located at the foot of Qinglong Mountain near Lubiu Village in the Laixing district under the administration of Jinan City, about 33 kilometers southeast of the city of Jingyan proper. The pagoda is located to the east of the site of the Xingtang Temple, Chinese Pinyin, or they have the Chinese name and then the Pinyin in English, Xingtang Si Supernatural Power Temple, which was one of the most important temples in northern China at the time the pagoda was built, but is now in ruins. Just think of all the things that they're going to, in, say, the 37th century, know about the 21st century, looking back, and some of the buildings that we know right now will be in ruins over 1,000 years from now. It'll be incredible. In 613, Abbey of the St. Galli in Switzerland was founded. Very beautiful pictures indeed. Moving on, in 618, the St. Hippolyte Church in Exmatizian, Armenia was built. Very beautiful. And there's a plethora of pictures on this. And the building is still standing today, over 1,000 years. Well over 1,000 years ago, 1,300 years ago. Well, to be precise, 1,403 years ago, to be precise, in 618. It's 2021, so do the math. In 635, the convent on Linsafarney off the coast of Bernicia, northeast England, was founded. Wow, very, very beautiful. .635, okay, I said that. Moving on, in 636, the Zumu Pagoda in Jingding Tang Dynasty in China was built. Very beautiful. Very, very nice. If you want to, there's a plethora of information on here, and it is absolutely stunning. Okay, in 640, the Dagwin Pagoda in the Changhan Tang Dynasty was completed. It was located about 2 kilometers to the west of Ligurian Temple. But there's some remnants that is taking a picture. It almost looks like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, but not quite that big. It's kind of tilted. It's probably tilted to the right or to the left, wherever you're standing. It does feature the 7-story octagonal brick pagoda is about 32 meters high. Each side of the first story measures 4.3 meters. So there's some useful information. Well, should be. In 641, the Mosque of Amr bin Ibn Als in Fastat, Emud, Egypt begun. So that's pretty cool. That's very good information. In 646, the Hayagana Gansa pagoda was completed. In 652, the giant Wild Goose Pagoda in Cheng'an, capital of Tang Dynasty, China, first built. Also in 652, the Zervnats Cathedral in Armenia built. I'll have to check this out. Oh, it just looks like the ruins of it. But there, I'll read some information on the excavations. The remaining ruins of the Zevdarnats, or Zevartnats, were uncovered at the beginning of the 20th century. The site was excavated between 1901 and 1907 under the direction of Veredebet Kachikdedian, who uncovered the foundations of the cathedral as well as the remains of the Catholic's palace and a winery. The excavations furthermore revealed that Zavnats stood on the remnants of structures that dated back to the reign of Yerturkhin of Russia. Well, it'd be Russia. Interesting. And that was, the Etrurian was attested from the 9th to 6th century BCE. Moving on, 654, the Jumigus Abbey in Normandy was founded. There's some ruins, and they look really beautiful. Truly remarkable. In 661, San Juan de Banos Palencia in Visigothic Spain was consecrated. So that's certainly good news of that. I mean, you probably learned something. It was completed in the 10th century. But if you want to go to Wikipedia, this is truly amazing. There was a related site. The name of the village references Bass, and there is a fountain, the Fonte de San Juan, near the church. So that's pretty interesting. Moving on, in 662 to 663, Pangol Palace renovated. It was renovated. Amazing. Excuse me. I sneezed there. In 669, the Kofuku-ji Buddhist temple in Yamashina, Japan was first constructed. Yashimina, Japan is a population of 135,091 as of 2016. As of 2015, the population was 135,471. In 670, the city of Kurion in Tunisia, and its great mosque founded. Tunisia. I'm so sorry. You get so excited about reading stuff about the 7th century, and it's hard to pronounce words sometimes. There's a panorama view of the Korea panorama view. At least I can say panorama. I can't pronounce these words. They're very hard to pronounce. The Great Mosque is where that city, where it was founded. It looks really beautiful. There's dusk panorama view of the mosque. It's very beautiful. All Saints Church in 670, All Saints Church of Brixworth in England was founded. These churches are very beautiful. In 680, the Yakushi-ji Buddhist temple, first built in Furakura, capital of the Osaka period, Japan. Construction begins on San Pedro de la Neve Church in Zamora, Gothic, Spain. And that is very beautiful too. A view from the southwest if you go to Wikipedia. Truly remarkable. Very beautiful. There's a scale of the Furakura, and there's if you go to Wikipedia, there's a scale of the town. But there's just remains. And there's one from 20, it's just small. There's remains of these ones. In 682, work began on the construction of the Furakura as the future capital of Japan from 694 to 710. In 683, now we're getting the latter part of the 7th century. 683, temple of inscriptions built in the Maya city of Palenque. Yes, very beautiful. 684, the Quinling Mausoleum near Chang'an, Tang Dynasty, China, completed. A lot of interesting structures and architecture in the 7th century. Certainly, it's worth a view. But again, a viewer wanted me to do this. He really wanted me to get down and tell you guys about this. Also, this video should help you to fall asleep, because that's what the title's going to be. Or something like that. In 691 to 692, the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem, Ayamawad Empire was completed. They probably didn't have that gold color like they do on top. Temple of the Cross was built in the Maya city of Palenque. Looks like it was not all there. Maybe there's just some ruins of it left.
It is located at the southeast corner of the site, consists of three main structures: the Temple of the Cross, Temple of the Sun, and Temple of the Palladian Cross. The Temple of the Cross is largest and most significant. The temple is a step pyramid containing bas relief carvings inside. And there's a plethora of information on that one. Abbey of Echternach in Luxembourg was founded in 698. The Abbey of Echternach is a Benedictine monastery in the town of Echternach in eastern Luxembourg. The abbey was founded in the 7th century by Saint Willibrord, the patron saint of Luxembourg. For 300 years, it benefited from the patronage of succession of rulers and was the most powerful institution in Luxembourg. The abbey is currently a popular tourist attraction, mostly on account of an annual dancing procession that is held every Tuesday. Tens of thousands of tourists, day trippers, pilgrims, and clergy visit Echternach to witness or participate in the traditional ceremony. I thought it was just because it was built in the 7th century. That's why they were having a festival like that. There's year unknown of the St. Patricio Chapel in Braga, Visigoth Kingdom. So many beautiful structures. One thing I wanted to touch on was the fact that the 7th century inventions also I need to cover, because I had a bunch of emails and comments in my videos that said they wanted to know what kind of inventions were. So they obviously looked for that and they knew it, but they just wanted me to do a video about this. So the inventions were, what was invented in the 7th century? Some of the inventions are gunpowder, porcelain, paper money, and magnetic compasses, which were all invented by the Chinese. If you also go to 7th century houses, they truly were remarkable. The houses were absolutely astounding, and they were very beautiful. Sometime there was a 7th century village discovered in Saudi Arabia. Things just keep on popping up about the 7th century. I encourage you to really do some research on the 7th century. Just don't take my word for it. You can really do a lot of stuff with the 7th century. It's really beneficial, and it will help you to appreciate what it's all about. It's truly remarkable how you can do some research. Perhaps it's amazing. You'll be really happy to first of all, thank you for watching. It's truly amazing. You are gonna like this video. Will probably go viral. This video will probably go viral. I had a lot of requests to do this, and I can see why. I can see why. So thank you very much, and you have a wonderful day.